Today I want to show you why this adjustment didn't translate after adjusting the pattern for the pleat on one side and then using the adjusted pattern pieces to cut out the second leg. So today I'm talking about how to look at an adjustment you made on your fit muslin and then transfer it accurately to your paper pattern. We spend a lot of time fitting pants with a fit muslin, and we pin things up, we pleat things, we take things in, let things out to get the front and back of the leg to be balanced, and then work on adjusting the shape of the crotch. And along the way, there's a lot of adjustments that need to be transferred from that muslin to your paper pattern. So today I want to show you something that happened with one of my students that I'm working with. We were working with her single leg muslin, and we made a pleat to pick up fabric in the back, and it looked great on that side. But then when she sewed up her full muslin, the leg that had the adjusted pattern piece didn't look so fabulous. So let me just remind you of what that looked like. Here's her full muslin, so you can see the pleat on the side we were working with on the single leg, and then the second leg was added with the adjusted pattern piece. One of the reasons why it can be tricky to transfer your adjustment from your muslin to your paper pattern is that you can do things in fabric that don't translate to paper. Now let's look at how that pleat was transferred to the paper pattern. So you can see here her paper pattern has the wedge adjustment. Notice the small amount that was taken out as you started to approach the side seam. That's why there is still extra vertical length under the adjustment on the second leg. So I just want to show you how to transfer a pleat or picked up extra length on the back leg to your paper pattern. In front of me I have a half muslin, and I basically pinned out a similar pleat to what we were working on in the Zoom session with my student. And then I have two back legs here. So what I'm going to do, just to make it really clear, I'm going to mark the shape of this pleat that we made, just to illustrate to you what the issue is. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark it here. I'm going to mark it here, and then I'm going to take the pins out so we can see what the shape looks like flat. All right, so let me just take out these pins. So if we open this up, I think this is a really good way to look at it. You can see that the shape of the pleat doesn't blend to zero like it would if you slashed and overlapped your pattern. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So you can see all of this fabric was taken out to get the leg to look nice. So if I were to reproduce that, and I think because my muslin is facing this way, I'm going to turn these upside down like this. What I've typically shown as instructions for transferring this to the paper pattern, you would draw yourself a slash line in a similar spot where the pleat was taken out of the muslin. Okay, so remember, so there's the little pleat. Look how wide it is. And then I'm going to move it out of the way. And then what you do is you pivot at the side seam. So I'm going to go ahead and slash my pattern like this. Okay, and then I'm going to overlap it the amount of center back. So if I look at my center back, I took out 1.5 inches. Okay, so if I mark 1.5 inches right here and draw a line, okay, you can see what's going to happen here is that we are removing the same amount right at center back, right? We are. But then notice what happens. We're significantly removing less vertical length the closer we get to the side seam. because when you draw straight lines, that's the shape you get. It's a wedge adjustment. And what ended up happening was, after removing this, and I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Okay, and it's making a funny shape because even though this is a bigger than, you know, half scale pattern, it's still relatively small. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that to clean it up. Okay, but you'll notice that the amount that I overlapped, which is right here, okay, so here it's equal, right here it's equal to what we did, but then as we start going this way, more and more of the fabric got left behind. So if you look at the second leg on the muslin, let's look at it again. Okay, you can see that it looks still loose and extra vertical length under the adjustment because we didn't pick it all up. So now what I want to do is show you how you can customize this adjustment, and this kind of goes along with the customizing a wedge shape adjustment that I showed for bodice fitting in the back. What you can do, let me bring back my paper here. I'm going to go ahead and make the same, you know, horizontal guideline here, okay, you know, and then I'm gonna make myself some vertical lines, and these control points that I'm drawing in here are gonna allow me to help customize the wedge shape. And just to drive home the issue here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure on the original muslin. I already know I'm 1.5 inches here. I think this time we'll push it up so I'm not, so there's the 1.5 inches there. Oh, actually I think I have to do it down here, sorry. So I'm going to do 1.5 inches here, and it's hanging low here, don't worry about that. But then in the middle, it's still 1.25 inches. So over here, I'm at 1.25 inches, you know, and then it quickly goes back. Now, this is a lot for this small pattern, but you're going to see what I mean in a minute. Now, obviously, if we're going to the side seam, it's going to have to be at 0, but I can approximate the adjustment, something like this, which would be significantly better than just keeping the line straight. So what you're going to do here is you're going to slash, you're going to slash the pattern, okay, and then, you know, we can tip it down to where it needs to be right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just, you know, just to show you, like, we can tip it down. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slash through these, and I'm cutting them straight through. There's no pivots here. Okay. So now what this allows me to do is it allows me to pivot this one down to where it needs to be. And I'm just going to hold that with one of my sew tights. Then I can pull this one down to where it needs to be. Oh. And again, I'm just going to use my sew tight. And then I'm going to pull this one down together like this. All right, so you can see what happened is I couldn't get the entire amount of the original slash because it's, you know, it's, I think I drew it a little bit generous, but also if it's working out that you pleated and you never got to 0 here, what you would do, and I'm just going to show you that example, what you would do is you would break your pleat here, I mean your pivot there, pull this down to where it was. So let's say I wanted to get it all. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to push this one down. And then I'm going to push this one down. So you can see now what I've done is I've created a situation where I am getting to my goal and I am removing the exact amount of the pleat. So when you're pleating across on your muslin and you're basting that shut, If you're not at 100% zero at the side seam, what are you going to do? You're going to wrap around to the front. So I'm going to get my front here. Okay, and I'm just going to make note of, you know, what I did at the very side seam. So at the very side seam, I shortened it. Let me just keep these in action here. Like this. Okay, I can measure from here to here is what I took out. So I can go ahead and on my front leg, I can draw myself the guides like this and like this. Okay. And then I'm going to adjust the front leg. So now you only need to do that if you didn't come to zero at the side seam. You know, and sometimes when you're pleating along on fabric, it's very easy to just make that pleat and still trap fabric at the side seam. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to cut along one of them. And then I'm just going to pleat this down so it matches like this. So now I've made a like adjustment to the front. So my side seams are equal. Okay, so now they're equal, and I probably would fill in this divot slightly here, you know what I mean, because it's making a little divot there. But basically, that's a more accurate transfer to the adjustment. So this is what you would do if you realized that you didn't make it to zero at the side seam. But if you did make it to zero at the side seam, you don't need to adjust the front. All right, if I leave this one pivoted, okay, I could even tuck this one down a little bit more like this. Okay, so see what you're doing is you're creating a shaped wedge, okay? And then at the top, obviously now we've got this funky thing at the top. So what we would do there is, I'm just going to put some paper here, and I'm just going to hold it with my sew tights. But essentially what you would do is you would just start at, you know, where it lines up and then just carefully blend it back to the original. So you would end with a, you know, shaped top of your waistline. So that's what you would do if you do go to zero at the side seam. You're making these control points, pushing down each section, and then you end up with the dip in the shape that you need to get to pick up all of the extra vertical length. So I thought this was a really fun thing to share, because I had the, you know, the adjusted leg, I had the adjusted pattern, and then I had the results of the adjusted pattern. So I thought that was really fun. If you have any questions or comments, please post those below and I will help you. If you're enjoying my content, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel because it helps me grow. And I just want to let you guys know that in the community section on my channel, I have a special, exciting thing I'm sharing. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be launching the J Stern Designs YouTube Insider Club, and what that's going to be is a complete catalog of my YouTube channel, and it will come in a PDF with QR codes, and it's going to be hosted on a, you know, on a website that I'm setting up, where I'm setting up a sewing community, and you'll be able to access all of my videos by category. And then every month I'm going to update that catalog, and I'm going to have some other fun things in there, like polls on what you want to see for content. I'm going to put together mini classes that are body specific to help people really fine tune their fitting based on their shape, and I'm going to do other things too. So it's going to be a really fun way to engage with me on my YouTube channel. So if you head over to the community tab and click on the link, you can opt into the wait list for that. So that's another fun thing that's happening. So I want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again soon.